They're one of modern rock's most fascinating and, let's be honest, theatrical bands. They're this anonymous, Grammy-winning entity that somehow built an entire empire on a ghoulish gimmick. So today, let's pull back the curtain on the absolutely meteoric rise of Ghost.
Right from the jump, the band hits you with this paradox that you just can't ignore. How in the world can a frontman who looks like a demonic anti-pope be creating some of the absolute catchiest rock anthems of the last decade? That's the big mystery we're going to unpack.
And this really breaks down that core contradiction, right? On one side, you've got the look, the corrupted clergy, the anonymous ghouls, a total horror movie vibe. But then you listen to the sound, and you get these infectious melodies, classic 70s rock riffs, and just massive arena rock hooks. I mean, on paper, this clash should not work, but it absolutely does.
All right, so where did this totally bizarre but kind of brilliant idea even come from? To really get it, we have to go all the way back to the beginning, to the genesis of this singular shadowy vision.
So meet the mastermind, Tobias Forge. Now, before he was leading this congregation of ghouls, Forge was a veteran of the Swedish death and black metal scene. He was known for music that was way heavier, way more aggressive. But he had this one idea that it didn't fit into any of his other projects.
So the story goes, it all kicked off back in 2006 with what he calls a happy accident. He wrote a riff that was just way too catchy, too melodic for death metal. That riff became the song Stand By Him, but its satanic themes just felt wrong coming from some guy in a t-shirt. He just knew it needed something more. It demanded a spectacle, a whole ritual, and bam, in that moment, the concept of a demonic pope and his anonymous ghouls was born.
And look, this wasn't just some one-off gimmick. Forge built a whole narrative into the very fabric of the band, this idea of a papal succession. So each album would introduce a brand new era and a new leader, building up the lore for their growing congregation of fans.
And it all began with the very first frontman, the original pontiff of the profane, Papa Emeritus I.
So this first era, it's all about their debut album, Opus Eponymous. Papa I was this frail, skeletal, and genuinely menacing figure. The sound was pure vintage occult rock, but with this secret weapon, what people started calling sugar-coated Satanism. We're talking incredibly sweet, poppy melodies singing about the darkest subjects you can imagine. And man, it was an instant hit in the underground. So after that first era, Papa I gets, let's say, retired, and a new leader is brought in. Enter Papa Emeritus II, a much more charismatic and, honestly, sinister figure. With the second album, Infestissimum, the band's whole sound just exploded, right? It got bigger, more cinematic. Papa II was a younger, more energetic frontman, and this era got a huge boost from controversy. When CD manufacturers in the US actually refused to print the album's art, it just made Ghost seem even more dangerous, more alluring, and yeah, it boosted their profile big time. Okay, so after Papa II, the band was basically primed for the mainstream. And for that, they needed a true star. Well, they got one in Papa Emeritus III, the dapper, almost flirtatious showman. And this is the moment it all changed. In 2016, with the song Syrinx, Ghost broke through in a massive, massive way, winning the Grammy for Best Metal Performance. I mean, you gotta stop and think about this for a second. An anonymous band, dressed like corrupted clergy, had just won one of the highest honors in all of music. It was wild.
But you know how it goes. With that kind of success comes a lot of scrutiny. And just as Ghost was reaching the absolute peak of their power, a crisis threatened to tear down the entire facade. This was the moment of the great unmasking.
That one question that had been fueling their whole mystique for years was about to get answered, not by choice, but by force. And for a band built on total anonymity, revealing Papa's true identity, this could have been the end of everything. So what happens? In 2017, a lawsuit filed by some former Nameless Ghouls over royalties officially outs Tobias Forge as the creator and leader of Ghost. For so many bands built on mystery, this would have been a fatal blow. You'd think the magic was just gone. But here's the thing, Forge's response was nothing short of brilliant. Instead of hiding, he leaned right into it. He confirmed his identity, but he insisted that the story, the characters, always mattered more than the guy behind the mask. The show must go on.
He literally turned a crisis into an opportunity. The lawsuit forced his hand, yeah, but he used it to take total creative control. So instead of just rolling out a predictable Papa IV, he creates this brand new character,
Cardinal Cupia and gives the fans a whole new story. Could this underdog actually earn his promotion to Papa? It was a genius move.
So, okay, his identity's out there, he's got this whole new story arc going. What's next? Well, Forge set his sights higher than ever before. This wasn't just about playing arenas anymore. It was about building an empire.
This timeline, wow, it really puts their whole journey into perspective, doesn't it? From a mysterious debut in 2010 to winning a Grammy in 2016, surviving the big Unmasking in 2017, and then finally crowning Cardinal Copia as Papa Emeritus IV in 2020. And all of that led to the 2022 album Impera, a concept album about empires themselves.
And if you look at just these last two eras, the evolution is just massive. The Cardinal era was all about 80s arena rock and the Black Death. But once he became Papa IV, the sound got even bigger. We're talking maximalist rock inspired by Def Leppard and even ABBA. And his status changed to this flamboyant, sequined empire-building leader.
So, after all that, we have to ask the big question. Why? Why has Ghost connected so deeply with so many people? What's the philosophy here? What's the secret sauce that makes this whole elaborate production work so well?
Because at the end of the day, Ghost isn't really a satanic band in the way you might think. It's satire. It's incredibly clever satire. By perfectly mimicking the imagery and the rituals of organized religion, but twisting the subject matter completely, they brilliantly expose the theatricality and hypocrisy you can find in all powerful human institutions.
So what's the big takeaway here? Ghost is way more than a band. It's a masterclass in world building where the spectacle and the story are just as vital as the songs themselves. In an age of overexposure, they brought mystery back to rock and roll, and they've built something that works on two perfect levels. It's a deep, complex, cinematic universe for the diehard fans, and it's just a fantastic, unbelievably catchy rock band for everyone else. And that leaves us with one final thought. After everything we've looked at, what is Ghost really? Is it a genuinely dark ritual, a brilliant, sprawling piece of performance art? Or are they, quite simply, the smartest and most ambitious band in rock and roll today? Honestly, the answer is probably all of the above.